Hey everyone, Knux free here, and today I have a video about Sonic the Hedgehog and the upcoming potential reveal for his next main game installment. Now, for quite a while now, we have had a lot of silence from Sega about Sonic's next game, and yes, we have had teasers and tiny hints thrown around along the way, but for the most part, we haven't gotten anything concrete about Sonic's next installment. So I figured why not just talk about it and throw some thoughts and ideas about Sonic's next game and what I would like to see in it. But first things first, we have the day that it could potentially be revealed, which is at San Diego for the Sonic 25th anniversary event. Now usually some people might get worried that a reveal, specifically a game reveal for the next Sonic installment, might not be there. Why? Well, because ever since last year there have been multiple events that people have thought and speculated that the game would be revealed at, but nothing came up. But this time it could be different. Aaron Weber, who while isn't a big insider of Sega, he's more of a PR manager of sorts, has commented that there will be plenty to look forward to for the event, and basically heavily implied since South by Southwest, since the panel there, that if you expect a game reveal, that it would be a place to look towards. Now, it may not be 100% confirmation that this is where we'll finally see the 2016 Sonic game for the 25th anniversary, but I have a feeling that at this point, I think it will be, and it will have to be. You see, the reason why I think it will have to be is it's just been a really long and quiet period, and I think it really is time to show something off from this game, especially if it is releasing in 2016, and it's kind of dumb that they haven't really showed a tiny detail yet, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, let me explain. Just because I say that does not mean I have a problem with the development time. I feel I should explain this difference because I see some people get upset and say, well, why are you rushing Sega? I thought you wanted Sega to take their time. I do want Sega to take their time. I'm not asking Sega to release the game tomorrow or am saying they should release it as soon as possible. No. I'm just saying it's kind of weird that a game that is releasing in 2016, apparently for the 25th anniversary, it's kind of weird that we literally know nothing still to this day. Like, literally zero details, like no teaser images, not the tiniest bit of gameplay, of course, and not even a name or a hint that this game is kind of a big thing. Heck, we still don't really have the full assurance of this game and exactly what scale it's going to be on. But despite all of that is up to Sega on how they want to approach this. I mean, it's their game, it's their development team, they allegedly know what they're doing, so I'm gonna let them do them, so there's not much else I can really say other than I have my high expectations for Sega, and not just for myself, but from a community standpoint. Speaking of expectations, why don't we talk about that? So with this next Sonic game, a lot of people have asked me what I want this next Sonic game to be like. What style of gameplay do I want? What characters do I want to see? Etc. And my answer is probably more complicated or simple depending on how you see it than you would expect. Basically, I want a game that is grounded and has a few main ideas in mind and doesn't try to be too much. What do I mean by that? Well, basically, don't try to be an all-in-one game that pleases 100% of the fan base, which is impossible, by the way, but you can just focus on making a good game. Basically, this is really basic stuff. For one thing, hopefully the game has stuff like good control, no game-breaking glitches, fun, good-looking levels, and etc. This should all be standard stuff with any video game, and it's stuff that I would love to see in the next Sonic game. Now, if we really want to get into my specifics, then oh boy. Now, please, for the love of God, keep in mind that this is opinion, my opinions. Well, for one thing, I would like an original concept, and by that I do not mean an entirely new idea like many Sonic games do. I want core gameplay there. For example, if it were like a Sonic 5, or dare I say it, Sonic Adventure 3, play like those games. Do not try to experiment with something along with that fans wouldn't be familiar with. But at the same time, I do not want rehashed elements. Specifically, I mean that through stories, stages, or stuff like that. Like, take Sonic 4 as an example. Sonic 4 is okay and all, but to me, all it is looking back is just a cheap attempt to cash in on nostalgia. Especially Sonic 4 Episode 1, which might as well have just been a Sonic 1 remake. But then people might say, well, Knux, what do you mean by new elements? I mean, you want something new, yet you don't want the core gameplay to change? Yes, that's kind of what I mean. I want Sonic to establish something for himself in that gameplay, and something that identifies with him, if that makes sense. Basically, think like the 3D Mario games, where each 3D Mario still plays like the core 3D Mario formula, but there's like different things added on to it that make it unique. But that's not exactly what I want to see with Sonic, but I kind of want that mindset in Vibe, because I just feel like that Sonic right now is having a major identity crisis, and the best way to fix that is to kind of ground him to a specific standard and just stick with something that you're going to be formulating. I know Sega loves to change ideas with Sonic constantly, and that's kind of a major downfall to the series, I feel like, because it's one reason that the fan base is split into so many sections, is because there's so many different gameplay styles, there's so many different versions of characters or such like that, and that's the reason why I feel like Sega should kind of hold back on trying to expand and take what they currently have and use it to create something. Yes, there can be some new mechanics or additions to freshen things up, just don't stray far away from that core gameplay. And definitely do not hug on to too much to where you can't put out an original game. Hope that explanation makes sense. Basically, it's okay to have those nostalgic elements and those elements that a lot of Sonic fans are already familiar with, but I do kind of want to see some new expansion to the series. But at the same time, I don't want it to be like something crazy, like to where it's a whole new gameplay style, kind of like Sonic has done in the past. Now, let's add in some more real specifics. I would like to see the anniversary game preferably be in 3D. Now, this isn't a surprise at all, because you all know how hard I've been trying to push Sonic's tail back into 3D lately. And I do it for the reason that I want to see 3D, because I personally see it would be more of a spectacle for a big anniversary game. Usually that is what Sonic anniversary games try to go for, so maybe there's nothing to worry about, because I know usually Sonic anniversary games really do try to step forward. But let's think about something like Sonic Generations. I like the boost gameplay, it's not that bad honestly, just hope it's not exactly like Generations, where if there was, like, for example, 2D and 3D stages, the 3D stages don't randomly have 2D in them too for no reason. Like, I always thought it made no sense that we have 3D and 2D stages, but even the 3D stages can't catch a break from the 2D elements, and that's something that kind of annoyed me. Like, if you're gonna do one or the other. That's kind of my idea. Or, you know, either make like a 3D game, or if you're gonna do it half 2D, half 3D, have full 3D stages, please, at least. That's just kind of like a personal thing with me. The 3D stages don't randomly have 2D in them for no reason in other Sonic games in the past, so I just think that they shouldn't have them here as well. That seemed kind of annoying, but that's just me. Now, I wouldn't mind some other small things too, like multiple playable characters, or no wisp, or a Chow Garden, etc., stuff like that. Like, my reasoning behind those is that with multiple playable characters, I don't want like every Sonic character in the series to be playable, but it would just be kind of nice if we could at least play as, like, for example, Tails, Knuckles, maybe at bare minimum, I guess, since I love playing as Knuckles and I love playing as Tails. Like, at the very least, I want to play as someone other than Sonic. Some people would argue that right now Sonic needs to be established, and I guess I would kind of go with my argument earlier, which said Sonic is under an identity crisis, so maybe focusing on Sonic only would be one reason just to do Sonic only, and maybe, I guess I could deal with that. So multiple playable characters isn't something that's like 100% needed, but it would be something that I would prefer. No whisk is something I think should not just happen. Like, I'm tired of the whisk. Like, I like them in the way they were structured in colors and maybe like generations at best. They weren't that bad to use. They didn't really slow down the gameplay too much, but just the Wisp in Sonic Lost World and how they were executed there just left a really bad taste in my mouth with them. And I think I'm pretty much done with the Wisp, and I wouldn't want to see them for this next installment. A Chow Garden is something everyone asked for, but let's not get crazy now. Let's not get to the crazy ideas yet. Actually, you know what? Just forget it. You know, let's not get too crazy. Now, story is something very interesting. Some people want to hear me talk about. This time, I would actually vote and say that the anniversary game should not have a complicated story or a major kind of crazy story and trying to tie everything into it. And what I would like to see is a simplistic one-shot kind of like story, something that still has story, like a basic story element that's like in terms of Sonic. Like, how do I explain this? Okay, here's what I want. The reason why I don't want a complicated Sonic story this time is I feel that Sonic stories right now in the Sonic canon, in the Sonic lore, just is kind of ugly looking to me. I don't know why. I've tried to think about, you know, how I piece together the lore, how I piece together the canon and all that stuff. And right now, the story with Sonic is just not that appealing to me. It's just not working for me. And I think they need to revamp it and kind of reiterize it. And so what I definitely don't want them to do is to try and go back to like previous games and add in story elements from there to this game and try to make it some type of connected story like with Generations or something like Shadow the Hedgehog or something. Like, I just do not want that. I don't want to have to deal with that in this title at least. I would like a simplistic one-shot story that kind of just has its own territory, maybe with a new villain. As much as I like Eggman, I wouldn't want to see him as the only antagonist. I would like to see a new antagonist, and with new objectives and stuff like that. Now again, just because I want a simplistic kind of like story, doesn't mean I want something that's like Mario level, where it's like point A to point B, rescue the princess. No, 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 no. I still want to see character interaction, you know, some plot twist or some types of basic story elements in there. I just don't want to see anything too crazy is what I mean. I know it's really confusing explaining this, but that's basically my explanation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask about that. And my last and probably very, very specific little extra is I want this game to be separate and nothing to do with Sonic Boom. Now, Sonic Boom to me is really just an unlikable spin-off brand that should just be its own entity. I want the main Sonic games in the Boom series to be separate and just want to see the characters in more of their core glory. Now, if the game does kind of have some kind of connection to Boom, this is one of those things where I'm not sure I would be able to shake it off as easily. Like, it's not going to be the end of the world. I'm not going to like destroy the world or something like that. Like, but at the same time, I would preferably want that type of universe to be disconnected entirely and stay as their own games. I do know that a Sonic Boom game is coming out this year, which is Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. But other than that, I just don't want to see nothing to do with Sonic Boom. And you already know my reasons. I've explained them before. But if you would want me to explain them again, feel free to ask in the comments below. Just don't be surprised by the answer at all. Anyway, despite my rather more ambitious opinions, I just want Sega to focus on making a good game and establishing Sonic's identity more. That being in whatever way Sega wants. It's not my call, and if the game has decent qualities in what it wants to be, I will have no problems there. That's not to say I will like everything that will be there automatically, because trust me when I say I have my dislikes and my no-nos and just all the time with Sonic, and I'm sure every fan does. But I think the big thing Sega should focus on more is the overall image of Sonic. And I keep bringing that up because Sonic has had such a rough and bumpy path that I think a game like this kind of determines how much people care about him. And it's that reputation that's going to count in the long run of Sonic's life, not just the different segmented mistakes. You know, those mistakes pile up, and that's why I don't want Sonic to keep making mistakes and eventually crash and burn because of something dumb. Like, I've seen many franchises suffer from it, and it just, Sonic is like one of those franchises I just really don't want to lose. So not making a bad game should definitely be first priority. And I don't mean bad as in, oh, don't make it this gameplay style or don't have this in it. No, I don't mean those kind of like entitled certain things. I mean bad as in don't make it a glitchy mess with too many terrible elements like Sonic 06, Sonic Boom Rise of Lair, or quite a few other games in this series. So, those are my thoughts on Sonic's upcoming 25th anniversary game, but I'm sure the anniversary itself will still be pretty good as always, though I may personally find it drier compared to some other years, but maybe that's just the drought of Sonic news overall. So what did you think of my opinions? Leave a like and a comment below telling me, are you excited for the anniversary? Is there anything you want to see in the new game? Anything else relating to this video's topic? Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say, so this has been Knux out. Peace.